going to go live at least up till the end of the year anyway. And if you want to watch this same live stream but just in on a different platform, you can go to my Facebook page, Marianne Hanson Counselling Service. Normally it's exactly the same, but it might be a little bit different because I'm using, obviously I've got my bullet points. And the thing that I want to talk about today is something that I definitely work with many of the clients that I work with as a counsellor, but also this is on a personal level. There are lots of people who struggle with the idea of trust, and it doesn't mean they have to have trust issues. It doesn't mean necessarily that there's been a massive event that have caused them to stop trusting people. It could just be on a personal level, they just are very cautious, they just have trust, they just find it hard to trust people. So knowing who to trust, when to trust and how to trust is a tool that we have to learn as human beings. We learn that from when we're quite young as children. With children, they might go with whether someone is smiling or not, so facial expressions. With a child, they might go with consistency. So if they have a consistent adult or parent that is constantly giving them what they need, then they'll build trust. It can go the other way as well. If they have a neglectful parent, then they will start to mistrust adults altogether. So as human beings, it starts from, as a baby. Hi, I'm Jay. So these are 7 areas that I'm going to sort of talk about, and I'm going to try and keep them brief, so I'm not going to have like a 1-hour live stream. So the first thing when you're thinking about who to trust, when to trust and how to trust is intuition. I made a video on here a number of months ago called Trust Your Gut Instincts. That was a live stream as well. Oh, thank you for the likes, Jay. So using your intuition is a good way to identify who you can trust, because your intuition is coming from your gut instincts, but it's also coming from what you feel. So I was talking about this on the other live stream. So when I'm lost, or when there's a few times where I've been driving down country lanes, or if I've been in the middle of nowhere, and when I was a social worker, I used to drive at least like 600 miles a week. Guaranteed at some point my sat nav would die, or I would get lost. You then have to be quite selective sometimes on who you're going to stop your car, roll your window down and ask for directions. There's certain times where I'd be driving and I'd be like, I'm not asking that person. Don't know why, but you just have an instinct. I Haywood. Then other times you'd be like, yeah, that person looks friendly. And we do that generally as human beings. A lot of times we're making it, our intuition is based on, does that person look friendly? Our intuition is based on, have we trusted someone like that before? Is that person looks familiar to us or similar to someone that we know? Or the same as even if you're trusting your counsellor. There are people that might go for a counselling session. I know people who have gone on BetterHelp where they've said, I've had 4 counsellors, and then they've come to me. Hi, I'm I think Carly or Carl. So yeah, it's intuition. You can't kind of deny that intuition is really important. The second thing is emotional safety. That's just the word I'm using for this. This is how you feel when you share something with someone, whether you feel that they're going to keep it confidential, whether you feel that they're really listening, whether they're responding to you. If you don't have emotional safety with a person, it's going to be hard to trust them. So say you sit down with someone and you can see in their face that, oh, when I tell this person this, they're going to go off and tell lots of other people, or they don't look really interested, or they seem to be more asking loads of questions. It's like gossip. I've got people in my family, when there's something happening, it's like, they're like, what's the goss? They don't say what's the goss type thing, but they've got that type of energy. Drama. And I'm thinking, this is not like a soap opera. This is my life, So I'm really cautious of sharing really big things with them. And then I've got other people in my family, when I share things, it feels like they're listening, it feels like they're receiving. So I think this builds trust, emotional safety, whether you feel you can openly talk to someone and be vulnerable with someone, and whether you feel you will receive the support that you need. So the third thing that you can do when you're thinking about how to trust, who to trust and when to trust, this is a big one that sometimes I will use when I'm doing couples counselling, and that is around calculated risks. So if someone has done something that has hurt you, or that has ruined the trust, Taking a calculated risk means that you want this person to prove or to build the trust back. So you set tasks or you set opportunities for them to do that, but they're calculated risks. So there's nothing that you're going to give that person to do that would be majorly catastrophic or bad consequences. So a good example of this, and I've done this when I've worked with couples, I might set a few examples. So a suggestion might be, if someone has broken your trust because they've stolen money from you or they've taken something, you're not going to then give them access to your bank account and say, oh, okay, I'll just give them another chance. But what you could do is maybe you send them to do the shopping and you give them like £10 budget. If they can prove that they can go to the shop, buy the stuff, come back with the change, and there's no issues, that is a small step towards building trust. It doesn't mean that you're then going to keep increasing the money or you're going to increase open up the bank account again, but it means that it's a little step, because trust usually is in small steps. You have to take it day by day. So that's where the calculated risks come in. And the same as opening up your heart to someone as well. The calculated risk might be that you're not going to go into a relationship and reveal everything about yourself and be really vulnerable and, you know, start sharing passwords and do all this sort of thing. But you might take a calculated risk by saying, I'm going to date. Oh, one moment. So you might say to someone, I'm going to start dating, but I'm going to also protect myself a little bit. So you're going to say that, so I'm going to be a little bit cautious. Hi, Jamal. So yeah, I think so. That's the calculated risks, really. It's taking small risks, but nothing that is going to be too damaging or too detrimental. So the next thing is selectivity. And all that really means is just be selective on who you trust. And that's what we do anyway. And that's similar to what I was just talking about, using your intuition. But there are lots of people that will just say a blanket, I'm talking about sort of learning who to trust, when to trust, and how to trust. So there's lots of people which, especially if you go on social media, and that's what I'm going to talk about next anyway, this whole idea of trust no one, you know what I mean? And this whole idea of no one can be trusted and I just want to rely on myself and all this sort of thing. But what about using the idea of selectivity, which we use anyway in life? We've got to be selective. We're not just going to be openly opening our door to like anyone and just saying like we can trust absolutely everyone. You know, letting people come into your house off the street, leaving your purse or your, you know, in an empty room and just saying to everyone, help yourself. That's not what it's about. But you can be selective. There's going to be times where you're going to need to trust someone. You don't. You're talking about the Buddha. Oh, I've got a Buddha statue. Someone's mentioning that at the back. That's just a statue that I've got. So. Yeah, it's about being selective. It's about, you know, you have to trust your doctor sometimes. You have to trust your counsellor. Sometimes you have to trust your mechanic to make sure they're going to do, you know, sort your car out for you. You have to trust, there's lots of people which you can't like really survive without trusting them. So then it's just building on that. It's being selective, but it's fine as well to say that I've got a gut feeling I don't trust that person. You know, you could be on a date and you could just say, this just doesn't feel right. I'm just my intuition is telling me not to trust the person. So that's fine as well. So it's not saying you have to just be completely open. The next thing to think about is your core beliefs. Where have they come from? Where do the beliefs about trusting people come from? Because you can have defenses, and those defenses are normally those defenses that you have normally come from somewhere. So they're normally there to help you at first. So what all that really means, I'm sorry, I'm just checking some of these comments. There's a lot of comments that are nothing to do with what I'm talking about. So when you're younger, the core beliefs that you hold normally come from your parents. It starts from the parents or your caregivers. So if your parents have put that within you, the message, don't trust anyone, you keep everything within the family, don't share anything with like professionals, or, you know, that will get us into trouble, or you can't trust anyone, you know, it's best not to, especially people who've been hurt. If parents have been hurt themselves, they might tell their daughter, You can't trust men because maybe their relationship hasn't worked. You know, if people have been in situations where social services have been involved with their family, maybe they say you can't trust other professionals. There's loads of reasons, but if you reflect on those reasons and you say to yourself, why am I like so cautious? Why do I not trust people? It helps you then to review things, and maybe you then turn things around and say, I'm going to do things differently. Then the final thing is messages you've learned and experiences you've had. So whether your messages have come from social media, from TV, from family, from childhood, wherever they've come from, you just have to say that these messages do influence how we interact with other people, and how we trust, and when we trust, and who we trust. So it's worth sometimes considering how much of a trustworthy person you are, or how much do you trust, why you don't, and looking at all of these things, considering your intuition and how you can use that more, thinking about emotional safety and how important that is when it comes to trust, taking calculated risks so that you can give that person an opportunity to prove that they're more trustworthy, or so that you feel more comfortable, you're not taking big risks. Review and reflect on where, you know, these trust issues have come from. Be selective. Think about your core beliefs and your defenses and why they're there, and why they're, you know, they're affecting trust. And then think about the messages you've learned and the experiences you've had. You know, sometimes having defenses in place is there for a reason. So I'm not saying to people to just go out there and trust everyone, and to just put you've put your challenges of trusting people come from friends. Yeah, friends, family, relationships. If people keep letting you down, or if people keep doing things to hurt you, maybe they've said, let's just start a business, and then they've run off with the money. Maybe people have lied about, you know, going for therapy when they haven't, if they've got like an addiction. Maybe people, there's all sorts of situations people can put you in where they lose your trust. But it's just about building it back if you feel you want to. You don't always have to give people a second chance. Either you can say, that person has let my trust down too many times, so I'm not prepared to give them any more chances. And you're allowed to do that as well. So I think overall, it's just about taking a step back, reflecting, learning who to trust, learning when to trust, and learning how to trust. And it is a balancing act, but I think it's important. It's a tool which we need, because we can't just live life by just saying blanket, not trusting anyone, or being too trustworthy as well, like trusting people too much. You need to get that balance. So I hope you found this video useful. Thanks to everyone that has joined on this live stream. Anyone that wants to join on the replay and leave a comment, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Thanks for watching, and have a great week. Bye.